So whenever we are tagging the questions, we have to make sure that it is appropriate and relevant as per the solutions. Okay. So once we move on to the next part, when we write the solutions, that is by step solutions, we have to make sure that at least two steps are there in each and every solution. The first step becomes the introduction, where we are writing the definitions, we are giving a brief about the basic topic or the concept.
Aditi, sorry to interrupt you, but your screen is not visible.
Okay. I have not yet shared my screen. I will be sharing.
Okay, okay,
So I'm just giving you a brief right now.
okay,
I've wanted to take you to the portal, but I believe that the portal don't have the flow right now. So instead of taking you to the portal, I will be playing up the videos.
okay.
Okay. So before playing up the videos, I just want to give you a brief so that you can concentrate during the videos. So I was talking about the step one. The step one is about the introduction part, where we are just writing a definition or certain background about the topic or the concept, and then we are having a step two where we are providing the main solution of the answer. You can just give me 2 minutes. I am resuming in two. My screen is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so this is the video regarding the authoring part that I was discussing, that we need to have at least two steps, and step one is the introduction, step two is the main body of the solution, and then we move on to the last section, that is the final solution, where we are only writing what was being asked in the question. So in this video that I am going to play right now, we have a detailed discussion on the authoring part. I hope this video is audible to all of you. Yes, it is audible.
Just play it once. No, no, it's not audible.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Hi everyone, welcome to the part 2 of the SQ&A training call. In this call, we will try to understand.
Yeah, now it's audible.
Okay, so I'll share my screen.
Yes, screen is.
The authoring pattern and structuring pattern that we really have to follow while authoring solutions on the portal. Now, for that part, let's get to the portal straight away. Upon login, this is how the interface of the portal would look like. You will be having these three sections: Home, Expert Q&A, and My Answers. In the Expert Q&A section, you will be having two options. First, you will be having an option to skip the questions under a relevant category, and secondly, you will be having an option to go for answering the solution. Now let's understand about the skipping categories that we have available. As soon as I click on the skipping option, I can see that there are four skipping categories that I have with me. Now let's understand each of these categories in a bit detail. The first category says it does not belong to this subject. So sometimes guys it does happen that you may not get relevant questions, you may get questions from some other subject also while working on the portal. Suppose if you are operating an accounts ID, there is a possibility that you may get questions from engineering subjects, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. So in that case, you simply have to opt for this option. As soon as you do that, you will be having a list here. And from this list, you simply have to opt for that relevant subject to which the subject actually belongs. Now the question here is, how are you going to precisely determine about the subject? So the process is very simple, guys. You can simply take the support from your QAs, or you can simply search about the main terminology that we have available within the question on internet. With that idea, we will get some idea. With that approach, we'll get some idea as to about the subject to which actually belong, and we will simply opt for that relevant subject here. And as soon as we do that, suppose if I'm operating an accounts ID and I've got questions from chemical engineering, so as soon as I do that, this option will appear, and as soon as I will click submit, the question will get redirected to this chemical engineering subject. Now talking about the second category that we have.
Team, I am moving it forward because these skipping categories has been changed.
It's vital for you to tag the questions wherein you will be having an option to create number of steps while working on the portal. We should use inbuilt tools that we have been provided by the Chegg team. Of course, we should be very much careful of the explanation optional section. And lastly, we will be discussing about the final answer section as to how we have to go with it. Now let's understand each of these sections in a bit detail. Starting with the tagging part, because as soon as you go for authoring a solution, you will see this option wherein you will be having an option to go for subject, wherein you have to tag the question under a relevant subsubject. In some of the IDs, you will find sub-topic section as well after this subtopic, the subsubject, right? So that you can do, right? This is very much vital for you to tag the questions inappropriately. If you're having confusion about it, I would suggest you to take help from your QAs. Okay, they have the relevant experience. They will be able to more precisely guide you about this part. Yes. So yes, you have to tag the questions appropriately, and as soon as you tag the question properly here, then only the students in the United States will be able to get the relevant results while searching for a particular solution. Now, if I hit next, this is basically the section wherein I have to author my solutions. So let's understand. So this is going to be my introduction section. For the introduction section, I have to be careful about certain things. First and the foremost thing, we have to write at least one paragraph in our introduction section. Whenever I say one paragraph, it does mean that 2 to 3 lines should always be there. Secondly, we don't have to reveal our main answers in our introduction section. Okay, so now let's talk about how we have to go with the introduction section in the case of theory-based questions and numerical-based questions. If you are going with the theory-based questions, you may have three things in your introduction section. Firstly, you can either talk about the keyword or term that is specifically available to you within the question. Secondly, you may talk about you may give some generalized information revolving around the main concept. Thirdly, you may wish to talk about broader category that is available. Okay, let's try to understand this part with the help of an example that I have. Suppose if you have been asked to go with this question, what is the purpose of business, what are the advantages of doing business, and what are its drawbacks. So now for the introduction part, as you can see, I have three distinct requirements here: purpose of business, advantages, and disadvantages. But within this quotient, I have this term business specifically available. So right, for the introduction part, what I'm gonna do, I'll be giving the definition of business in my step one. Purpose of business, which is going to be my main answer, I will be explaining that in my step two. Advantages I will be explaining in my step three, and drawbacks I will be explaining in my step four. However, in the case of questions wherein in the case of straightforward questions like this, as you can see, I do not have any other term that I can simply explain in the introduction section. So in such cases, you cannot explain the term focus interview in the introduction part, because with that you will end up giving up the correct answer in the introduction itself. But as we discussed earlier, we do not have to reveal our main answer in the introduction section. So in that case, you can follow this approach. You can either give some generalized information revolving around this concept. We all know that photosynthesis is a concept that we study in biology. So some generic information about it we can give, or also you can talk about the broader category. Suppose if a question is asking you to write about FIFO, first in first out method in accounting, right? So the broader category in that case will be accounting inventory. So in that case, accounting inventory is something you will explain in the introduction section, and the term first in first out method you will be explaining from your step two, from where you have to go with the main answer. Okay. Now let's understand how we will go in the case of numerical based questions. In numerical based questions, we have to provide two things. Firstly, we have to provide the given information that is available to us within the question. Secondly, we have to talk about what we are going to compute or evaluate. Okay, suppose if you have been asked to compute the volume of sphere, right? So in that case, you must have been provided with a radius dimension. So in that case, you would, in the given information, you would mention that okay, the radius of the sphere is this, right? And what you are going to compute or evaluate, you are going to compute the volume of sphere. So that is something you would that is something you would mention, right, in the introduction section. Now, right after this introduction section, we have this explanation optional section as well, about which I think I'll talk in the later stage. So let's talk about the main answer section first. First, the step two we have. So, so yes, as we discussed in the first part, in the step one, we will be talking about the introduction. From step two, we have to go with our main answer. Now let's understand how we can approach to our main answer. So whenever we are going with writing our main answer, we again need to be careful of three things in fact. First, we need to ensure that we are addressing to all the given requirements that are available within the question. That is something we need to ensure. Like in this case, as you can see, we had three distinctive requirements: purpose of business, advantages of business, and what are its drawbacks. So there are three distinct requirements I have. So basically, when I will be authoring, when I will be giving my main answer, I need to ensure that I am addressing to all each of these key requirements. Okay, and I may wish to add more steps as and when needed, depending upon the requirements of the question. Secondly, you need to provide elaborated, relevant, and material content. Elaborated, relevant, and material content. Okay. It should not seem like that you are providing very bulky information, or it should not also be the case that you are providing very less information. You have to strike a good balance. Okay, the information that you feel like providing to make that concept more clearer to the US students, that kind of approach you will follow. You will provide that relevant and material information. Also, one thing that you need to understand here is, the entire information should be segregated and portable steps. So again, referring to that example, I had three distinctive requirements: purpose of business, advantages, and drawbacks. The purpose of business is something I will be covering in my step 2. Advantages, which is again a different requirement, I'll be explaining that in my step 3. And for the drawbacks, I'll go for my step 4. And lastly, I'll go with my final answer section. So this is kind of an approach we really have to follow when we are covering our main answer, when we are working on our main answer. Third, third is cohesiveness. Okay, in order to make it simple, guys, the answer should have a logical flow. Okay, as you can see that the question was asked in a certain chronology, right? So we really have to answer to that question following that same chronology only, right? So there should be a proper logical flow as well in our main answer. Okay, this is also that we really need to consider when we go with writing our main answer. Now let's talk about this explanation optional section. After each of the steps that you will be having, whether it is step 1, step 2, step 3, by the way, you can have minimum 2 steps and maximum you can go up to 10 steps. For each of those steps, you will be having this explanation section. Okay. Now let's understand the purpose of this. Is in the step 1 we are giving the introduction. From step 2 we are approaching to our main answer. So the purpose of basically this section is to give some added or related information revolving around the main concept. Okay, with the help of which you will be able to broaden or enhance the overall understanding of the students. So there are specific things that you can simply talk about in this section. So let's understand this. Again, we have to write one paragraph here, one paragraph, right? And we have to provide information to broaden or enhance the overall understanding of the students. Okay. Now there are three things that we can talk about here. The three things that we can talk in this section is, first we can talk about context and applications. In context and applications, we may wish to talk about some practical real life examples to which a student may be able to relate. Also, you can talk about the implications or practical aspects of the concept. Suppose if the question is about motion, you can talk about types of motion, what are the practical real life examples related to motion. Right? Secondly, you can talk about the common mistakes. Here you have to see from the student's perspective as to what possible mistake they can make, right? And you have to basically guide them on that aspect. Suppose if you feel that there is a possibility that a student may go wrong in the approach, some formula, he may get confused within some synonymous terms, right? So in that case, you can simply guide them on that aspect. Errors in formulas, approach, some synonymous terms, confusion between some synonymous terms. Thirdly, you can give some related information also. Suppose, as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of this section is to broaden or enhance the overall understanding of the students. So yes, you can give some related information also revolving around the main concept. For example, if the question talks about photosynthesis, you can give the information about transpiration, which is a related concept. If the question is about refraction, you can talk about reflection also. Okay, so this is something you can explain in this. Okay, so any one of these you have to explain. Either you talk about the context and applications, or common mistakes, or you talk about some related information in this. And this section is mandatory guide for all the steps. Whatever steps you will add, you will have to provide information. Whatever number of steps you will be adding to write your answer, in this section you have to necessarily provide information. Suppose if I want to keep only 2 steps in my answer, I'll hit next. Now, as soon as I do that, this is going to be my final answer section. In my final answer section, basically, guys, I have to give a summary as to what I have done in my previous steps. whatever I have done in the aforementioned steps, I have to give a brief summary of it. So if it is a theory-based questions, suppose if there are three specific requirements, so yes, you will give a brief summary. You will explain in nutshell as to what all those three things were, and you will give a proper summary of it. And if it is a numerical based question, in that case, you can simply talk about the steps that were involved within the process of that computation. If I again give you the example here, suppose you have been again asked to compute the volume of sphere. So in that case, you can mention that okay, the formula of the sphere is 4 pi d pi r cube. By putting the value of r this, the final value comes out to be this. So basically, what you have done here is you have actually give a brief summary as to how you arrive to the final value, right? So this is this kind of a approach you really have to follow for your final answer section. Again, this has to be one paragraph. Okay, and here we have to provide a summary of the aforementioned steps. Okay, so this is how we're gonna approach to the authoring pattern. And lastly, we have the option to preview our answers as well. Okay, so this is how we can preview our answers, and if we feel that if there is any mistake, or if there is anything that we need to rectify, we can simply rectify those things. Okay, now let's understand. Let's see some of the points from the PPT also. Yes, guys, tagging, and when you will be going to the tagging, you will see those two options. I think I guided you pretty well. Okay, and once you go for the steps, you will be having a minimum two, maximum 10 steps. It should not seem like you're having too much information or very less information, and you have to segregate the entire information in suitable steps, maintaining the cohesiveness. Okay, thirdly, we talked about the explanation optional section. Here we talked about, okay, although this section, the name of the section is optional, but again, this is going to be a mandatory step. Right after each and every step, you will be having this option, and you really need to provide the information in this section, right? And that we already discussed as to what all we can write. For the final answer section, we discussed we really have to provide a summary, short summary as to how we arrive to the final conclusion. We should try to summarize our we should try to give the summary into 3 points, so as to make it more appealing from the student's perspective. Okay, so this is how you can precisely write the content in a more legitimate way. You can structure your answers. You can author your answers in a freedom.
So, team, this is about the structuring part. Any doubts in this section? Any point of discussion? Okay, since we are good to go, I'll be playing a
Hi
video.
everyone, welcome to the part 3 of SQNA training course.
In this video now, we will be discussing the tools that are there on the platform and how we can use those tools. So for this, I'm sharing my screen again.
In this call, we will try to understand all the inbuilt tools that we have available on the portal and how we can use them. Now let's understand each of these tools one by one. Let's start with header, subheader, and normal text first of all. Suppose you have the header within your question as advantages. Within that header, you want to write, if you want to give a subheader profit making, and in that subheader, you want to write some normal text as well. Suppose you want to write the purpose of business is to make profits, right? So in order to give it a header, right? Simply go select the option, select the text, and click on this option. Now, if you want to give it a subheader, then opt for this and then click on this. And now this will go in normal text. This is by default in normal text only, right? So this is how we can go with header, subheader, and normal text. Then we have this option to go with cut. Then we have the option to go for copy. These are very usual commands that we often follow. Okay. I'm not going to discuss about them. Now, if you want to go for underline features, right? So, if you want to bold something, that is something you can do. If you want to italicize something, so, these are some of the basic functions that you can do, right? Now, if you want to go with subscript or superscript, now let's understand that as to how you can do that. Do it. The process is very simple. Write some variable. Now, if I have to go with subscript, you can go with this way. Now, if you want to give us superscript, okay, you can go with superscript this way, right? So this is how you can give subscript and superscript also to the text. Now, talking about the alignment part, this content is already left aligned, right? If you want to center align something, you can center align this way, or if you want to right align, this is how you can right align also, right? So this is how you can do the alignment part. Now, if you have to go with bullets, so there are three types of there will be two types of bullets available. First, we have normal bullets. Suppose if I have to give it a normal bullet, that is something I can do from here, right? Also, if I want to give it a numbered bullet, that is also something you can do. Or if I simply want to keep it in a normal text, I can go with the support. Okay. So this is something I can do. I can give different bullets to the content I have. Now let's understand about the table section. I'm removing the previous content. In this table section, we have the option to go for preparing a table. Now let's understand this part. In this table, we have the option to remove or add columns as per our convenience. Again, in the similar way, for the rows as well, we can do the same thing. Most of the times I have seen that whenever the SMEs go with some differentiation based questions, they often forget to give the heading. So it is very much vital for you to give headings properly. Suppose you have to give a difference between refraction of light and reflection and reflection of light. So yes, this is suppose if you want to give the main heading here. So now if you want to merge these cells, this is how you can do it. Now you can write difference between refraction and reflection. You can give heading to rows as well as to columns. Right? One differences could be on the basis of meaning, scope, and etc. Right? Now, if I want to center align this, I can center align this with the help of this. I can bold it. Similar way, I can do with these cells also. Center align and I can bold. Now, let's understand about some of the other good functions related to this too. Suppose if I have written 2000 here, 3000 here. Okay. Now, if I want to place dollar with dollar right before these figures, so this is how I can add. If I have to go with summation of these two terms, just like MS Excel, we can do it here. Now, if I basically want to show the formulas as to what formulas I used to go for the summation, I simply have to click on this option. It would basically indicate the formulas I have incorporated within formula. The best part about this tool is that we have the options to go for some of the advanced financial as well as statistical functions also. Like you can go for standard deviation, you can go for calculating present value, future value. So all of those basic statistical and financial functions will come here. So these are some of the basic things that you need to understand about the table. Now, if I remove it, In the table, in this section itself, you can see that we have certain predefined tables.
Okay, team, any doubts about the text editor tool and the table tool? Give me a quick thumbs up if you don't have any
No,
doubt.
ma'am. All
Oh,
clear.
okay. So I'm forwarding the video because now we only have the empty table option. We don't have the other options in the table. So I'm quickly forwarding the video. That will save our time also.
Options to go for preparing journal entries as well, fee accounts and ledger accounts as well. So let
So next we are going to discuss about the T accounting tables and the general accounting tables that we have on the
the
platform.
figures and you can and the preparing journal entries as well, fee accounts and ledger accounts as well. Now let's talk about this tool, two-line equation and three-line method text. Let's talk about three-line method text first of all. If I click on this, so let's consider this example only. So assets is equal to liability plus equity, right? If I hit enter, now I have this show tooltip option that I can definitely use. I have certain basic functions available here. One thing that you need to understand here is here these terms assets, liability, equity are certain words which are written in text part. So this is something that we can infer from here. Math and text is a tool that we use for text-based equations primarily. Also, we have limited mathematical operations available, functions available. So it does mean that we can simply go for basic and simple equations only with the help of this tool. Let's understand as to how this works. If you want to hide the tooltip, you can do that. Now, as soon as I write my figures, it automatically computes the value for me, right? So this is how I can go with. I can similarly I can go with two line calculation equations only. But most of the time we have the tendency to go with three-line math in text simply because we really need to show some formula in the text part and then we have to put in the values, okay, in order to compute the final value. So we often go with three-line math and text. However, if you want to simply keep your equations in two lines, then in that case you can simply offer two-line calculation tool that we have available. Let me remove this. Now this is the option that I have available with me to insert any images. Guys, 95% of the images you guys will be able to prepare with these inbuilt tools only. So there is no need for you to use any sort of external tools. However, there are few exceptions wherein to we allow to import images from outside. So that those things will be guided to you by your respective QAs only. For now, you have to understand that all kinds of diagrams, all kinds of equations that we have to prepare, we will be using these inbuilt tools only. And this is going to be a land of last resort for those few exceptions. So this is basically the section with the help of which we can insert images that are saved in our systems. Now, this is a code snippet tool we have. This is basically for the computer science people. Now let's understand this tool. So as soon as I do that, this is basically a platform wherein this is a tool wherein with the help of which you can simply write the code for different languages. As you can see, we have different language options available here. We can simply write the code. The best thing about this tool is that it automatically rectifies the syntax errors if there are any available within the code. However, talking about the drawback, this tool does not give you the output. For that, you again have to rely on external compilers. Okay, so you cannot simply draw outputs with the help of this tool. So that is going to be a drawback of it. Or if you simply want to give numbering to your equations to different codes that you have written. So this is how you can this is the option from where you can simply give the numbering, suitable numbering to your different codes. Let me remove this. The next tool that we have here is XYZ as in you have to when you have to go with some algebraic expressions, integral based equations, quadratic expressions, trigonometric equations, right? So now let's try to understand that. I'm writing the basic function, basic quadratic equation, x square minus x plus b, some random equation I'm trying to write here. This is the option from where you can simply you can go for less than, equal to, proportional, okay, all of those options. Now if you want to add one more equation here, you have to simply click on this. Suppose if I have to shift some of the variables to the other side, so that is something I can do. This is going to be a manual approach for me. That is, I'm doing it just to show you some other good functions related to this tool. Now, I have, as you can see, I have two different equations available with me. Now, if I have to give numbering to them, I can simply click on this option to give different numberings. Now, if I click on this show tooltip option, with this tool, I can clearly see that we have a lot of commands available here. So, with this, we can infer one thing here. Yes, with this tool, we can even go for advanced and complex mathematical equations as well. So this is going to be a differentiator. These are the differences between math and text and equation renderer. Math and text is used for text-based equations primarily. Equation renderer is used for variable-based equations primarily. With math and text, we can simply go for basic and simple equations. With equation renderer, we can go for advanced and complex equations also. One more difference, this tool does support latex code. Now let's talk about it as to how you can do that. Latex code, guys, I hope you remember from our day one training, we mentioned that you will be provided with this latex code as well. With this latex code, you know that the process of basically the writing equations will become very handy for you. Now let's discuss how we can do that. Suppose if you have to go with some sort of a fraction. So now you simply have to copy the command from this table and you have to run, you have to paste one. And with that you will be able to, you know, you'll be able to go write your equation in a more convenient way. You can change the variables as per your convenience. Now, if I write INTSQRT, right? 3. Now, you can see that I was able to write integral under root 3 simply by writing certain commands. Why this happened? When you have the tendency to refer this table multiple times, this does happen that you end up you end up remembering some of the commands by heart, and with that you will be able to write even the complex equations in an easy manner. So this is something you really need to understand. As I knew already that int for the integral and sqrt is basically for the under root, I was simply able to write that. Along with this, there are certain standard functions which are available here. So those standard functions will go as it is within the table. Let me just show you. If I remove this here, so like you simply have to write sine, cos, tan, all of those standard functions, log, pi, mu. alpha, alpha, beta, all of those standard functions will go as it is. So this is something that you need to understand, right? Also, the process of writing the matrix. If I have to go for 2 by 2 matrix, now I do not have to go with a manual approach. I do not have to search here, or I do not have to look for that option. Process is very easy for me. Now I simply have to go to that command and I have to copy it. Okay, copy and paste it. And with that, I will be able to have my 2 by 2 matrix with just copy paste it. Okay, and I'll be able to go with even the most advanced options of writing mathematical equations, right? Okay, one more thing, guys. Suppose if you have prepared some complex equation, right? Suppose if you have written the formula for standard deviation, correlation, or some other important mathematical equation you have written, and if you feel that you may require that same equation next time, so in that case, we would suggest you to we simply save the formula for it, okay, in a Word file with you, so that whenever you will be having that, whenever you have to go with that equation next time, you simply can copy that command in this section, and you will be able to write that same formula with just copy paste. Okay, so this is how you can reduce your efforts also of writing the same equation again and again. Okay, now let's talk about the second tool that we have. The next tool that we have here is inline equation renderer. Again, guys, if you focus on the name of this tool, the name of this tool is inline equation renderer, which means if you have to go with writing an equation within that line, then in that case you would opt for this tool. Let's understand this tool a bit. Suppose if you want to write the equation is, and if you want to write that equation within this sentence, then in that case you would opt for inline equation renderer, right? So this way you can see that I was able to write that equation within that same sentence. However, on the other hand, if I would have opted for equation renderer, the equation would have started from the second line. It would not go with it in the same line, same sentence. So this is basically the difference between equation renderer and inline equation renderer. Let me remove this also. Now,
So, team, we have discussed about the three equation writing tools that are math and text, equation renderer, and inline. If you have to write a basic mathematical equations, you will be using math and text. If you have to use a variable based equation, you will be using equation renderer. And in case you have to write the equation in the same line, you will be using the inline tool. Any doubts about these three tools and the table tool that we have discussed so far? Give me a quick thumbs up.
Guys, if you have any doubt, then you can ask.
Got only one thumbs up. Any more doubts? Okay, great. So let's play the video again and let's see the other tools that are there.
we have the drawing tool feature available here. Right? We can go for preparing a lot of illustrations. Now let's try to understand this tool in a bit detail. So yes, we have some of the basic shapes available here within this section. If we want to see subject specific shapes, we can simply go to this option. We can click on this option, and from here we can see all kinds of images, all kinds of shapes for different subjects for different use cases. Right. Now let's try to understand some of the functionalities of this tool. Suppose let me take few figures. I have taken here this square and circle, right? And if I have to, suppose if I have to, as you can see that this particular figure has a solid border. Now, if I simply want to change the border, you can do it from here. You can keep the dashed border. You can keep the dotted border as well, right? Okay. You can do the cut, copy, paste from here from these options. Okay. Okay. And now, if you want to keep square on the front and circle on the back, right? So for that you have this options. Okay. Or if you want to keep square on the back, you can go with this. So this is how you can keep a particular image on the front or on the back. Okay, depending upon your requirement. If you want to go with something, some freehand drawn diagram, right? Right, right. So this is how you can go with some kind of a freehand drawn diagram as well, right? Right. So basically, this is how you can go with some anything that you want to write with a freehand, right? If you're done with it, simply close this option. You will be able to have that image. Simply, if you want to simply remove the images, select all and then click on delete either from here or either you can delete it from your keyboard delete option as well. Now let's understand few more functions that we have available. Suppose if I go for this, right? Suppose if I have to go with different levels of management, right? Right? I'll be using this cut. I'm using copy paste option here to have this stick multiple times, right? Now, if I want to write something for that part, I have this option available with me here. So with this, I can write whatever I feel like. Suppose if I have to write top, I'm again using Control V option. Middle, top, middle, and operation. So this is how you can write text also for your respective images. You can use keyword keys also to suitably place your text within the figure. You can drag also, totally up to you. Now again, if I have to go with writing, I suppose if I want to write levels of management, right? Right. So you're done with this diagram of yours. So if you want to freeze this diagram particularly, simply select this diagram and then click on this option. In this way, this entire diagram will get freeze. Now again, if you want to make changes within this diagram, you can go for this option, ungrouping. If you want to group some figure, you can opt for this grouping option. And if you want to ungroup, you can simply opt for ungrouping. With ungrouping, you will be able to change the components available within the figure. Now, if I want to simply freeze it, sorry, yeah, if I want to simply freeze it, right, and now I know that I may require this figure in future also, so I have the option to save this image within the portal itself. So if you click on this option, you can simply save this diagram also. So suppose if I want to give it a name, levels of management new. Okay, see? And you can simply click on save, and the diagram would get saved. Right now, if you go to this option here, you would see that in the page shapes section, I have that diagram available with me, right? So now when I have to use it next time, I simply have to go to this option and click on insert. That entire diagram will appear in front of me. In this way also I will be able to reduce my efforts of preparing the same kind of images again and again. Let's understand few other functions revolving around. So yes, we can definitely go for some charts also, flow charts also. We can again, these are some of the predefined images, and again, if we want to bring some sort of changes within this existing diagram, again for that part we have the ungrouping option. As soon as we do the ungrouping, we have now got the option to change these components, and we can alter them as per our needs. Now, for now I'm just removing it. Wait a minute. Yeah. So yeah, let's go with the let's go with some graphs also. If I go to the graph options, I have this graph with me. I can simply insert it. Now this graph is there. I can squeeze. I can, if I want to, rotate any figure, that is also possible within this tool, right? That is something I can do, right? I can squeeze or enhance the size of the image as well. Now this image is very much fixed. Now if I want to alter the components of it, I will go to this ungrouping option. Now as you can see, I can simply alter, right? So I have different options available with me now, right? I can simply change the x-axis, y-axis depending upon my requirements. I can change this curve also. Suppose if you want to shift this curve to somewhere, right? So this is how you can do it. You can again uh, you can bring changes within the existing diagrams. Suppose you want to write 20 here. Now this equation can also be changed. Suppose within the process by mistake, if you have deleted this equation, you can also write the equation with the help of this tool. So we have inline equation render available within this tool. If I simply double click on this, I will be able to write the equation. Suppose if I want to give a different write equation, some different equation this time. So yes, this is how you can do it. You can write that equation, you can squeeze it a little, and you can place it wherever you want. Right? So this is how you can play. Again, now if I have to freeze this image, simply select the entire image and then click on grouping option. Now this image will be done. Right? So this is how you can play with the existing images. Now let me jump to the second section that we have. The second section that we have here is circuit diagram. This is basically for the people who are in electrical engineering domain. Now suppose if they want to go with some circuit, let's understand with the help of the available shapes we have, right? So if you want to make your circuit diagram a bit quick, so you can have all those elements that are actually needed to make those shapes, right? Suppose I want to use this and this in my diagram, right? Now this is basically a node that you can use to connect the elements, right? Now suppose if you want to simply stop this, you can again click on this option. This way you'll be able to stop. Now if I want to have this option also, right? And if I want to simply change it, change the position of it, right? Earlier it was in horizontal format. Now I wanted to keep, oh sorry, it was earlier in the vertical format. Now if I have to keep it in the vertical format, this is how I can do, right? Now again, if I have to start my connector, right? So this is how I can do it. So this is how I can simply go with my circuit diagram. Okay, we have a lot of options available here within this tool that we can use to prepare different kinds of circuit diagram. We have we have this we have also this option to remove the grid. Right? We can remove the grid also from here. Again, if you want to save the images, and all those cut, copy, paste options will go So will be very much similar as I guided you earlier. Now if I want to remove this image, now let's talk about the final tool that we have available. Let me just remove this. Yeah. Now the final tool that we have available with us is the camera option. So if I want to go with the camera, simply click on this. Now let's try to prepare benzene. For that part, I have this connector with me. I'll pick this up, right? Now let's try to prepare benzene with the help of this, right? Right. Now, if you want to keep it this way, you can. If it is not taking in the first one, you can always opt for the other time the code so as to prepare it in a proper way, right? Yeah. So this is how I'm done with. Suppose if I want to change the bonds, I'll first of all I need to close this. Now I will opt for this. If I have to change the bonds, I have to opt for this option. Then I'll click on backspace. This way I'll be able to remove the backspace also, right? Now if I have to opt for double bonds, from here I can opt for different types of bonds. Suppose if I have to opt for double bond, I'll opt for this, and I'll go to this option. Sorry, I have to start. I will have to go with. I will have to start this connector part first, right? Then I'll be able to connect the bond more precisely, right? Right? So this is how you can do it. Now, if you want to write some atom, right? So if you simply click or double click on it, then in that case you'll be able to write atoms also at the corner. Double click on it, you will be able to write. So this is how you can do. Suppose if this image is done, right? You can again group this image and you can copy paste it, right? Control C, Control V, right? And you'll be able to have the same kind of image again, right? Now, suppose if you want to establish some association between the two chemical structures. So these are the arrows that you can use. Okay? And again, if you want to write some chemical structure right above this arrow, so this is the option you have from where you can simply keep it. H square, sorry, TH minus OH square. Okay, so all of those functions you will be able to write with it as per your requirement. Okay, I'm just writing some random chemical structures, right? Just to show you few things. Okay. So this is how you can go with your structures also. Suppose if you want to have this option anywhere else, right? If you want to write some atom, insert an atom, right? So this is the option with the help of which you can insert an atom anywhere you want. Okay. Suppose you want to keep an atom here, again, you can use this connector to connect the atom with the other chemical structures that you have prepared. Okay.
So this is the tool about the chemistry and for the different engineering subjects. Any doubt in any of the tools we have discussed so far? Okay, since we don't have a doubt, then I'll quickly take you to the skipping categories. I want to discuss the different skipping categories that are there on the platform. For this, again, I will be sharing up the video as there is no flow on the portal. I cannot take you to the portal right now.
Hi everyone. As you all must be aware that the Chegg team has introduced new skipping categories on the portal, right? And these new skipping categories are like although the options have been changed a little bit in the new skipping categories, but the fundamentally things are same only, just like the old skipping categories we used to have. Okay, now let's discuss about each of these categories in a little bit detail. So now, as you can see, we have three options. In the first option, we have options like difficult, lengthy, has too many subparts, has multiple questions. And in the second, we have options like question image is blurred, question is incomplete, external tools, right? This is the option like where we, if you want to simply switch, right? And then I don't know the solution, right? And then in the third option, we have options like exam test quiz, copyright, points, marks, grades, requires lab work, and last is practice. Now let's discuss about each of these tools. In the first skipping category, we have options like difficult, right? So this is the option you will be opting for all the questions wherein you find a question, a particular question difficult for you, right? You feel that the question is difficult and you are unable to solve it. So this is where you can decline that question, right? This option is lengthy is something you will be opting only when the question is somewhat very lengthy, which you think which will probably take 4 or 5 hours of your option, right? So those kind of questions you can possibly decline here in this category. Has too many subparts. If a question has too many subparts to solve, suppose like if you come across a questions for which there are about 12, 13 subparts, right? So those kind of questions, you can decline here. Or if multiple questions have been asked, right? If multiple questions are there within one question, again, then in that case, those questions are to be declined under this category. So in all these four categories, basically the questions get skipped, and the questions will basically go to the Chegg team, and they will decide whether we have done it appropriately or not. And on the basis of that, they accordingly, either repost the questions on the portal or simply credit or either credit back to the student. Right now, then we have these options. The second options we have is question images blurred, right? Then we have so this is the option that you have to opt only when you feel that the question image is unclear, right? But before declining the question under this category, you really need to ensure that the question, sometimes what happens is that the question may become visible, right? With certain efforts, like you can always click on the show transcribe text option that we have available to see as to what is written behind, right? Also, you can right click on the image of the question and you can open it on a new window also. That way, sometimes the question may become visible, right? So if the question is not visible even after those efforts, then of course we can decline that question under this category. Okay, question is incomplete. This is like here you will be declining only those questions in which you feel that the requirement of the question is missing, some value, some pertinent information is missing. So this is similar to what we used to call need more information category earlier. Okay? You can opt for this option and you can specify as to what all is missing, and then you can decline the question, right? External tools. Now you know that in this project in these Chegg projects, we now have to necessarily go with the inbuilt tools. There is no way we can go with external tools. So if the question expects you to go with using some kind of external tool, those questions again you have to refrain from solving. Rather, you will be declining those questions here. Okay. Now, the ID guys that I'm operating right now is basically a calculus ID. So yes, if the question is not from calculus and you feel that the question is from some other subject, then you have this option wherein you can click and you can opt for the subject, opt for the original subject to which it may belong, right? So that's how you can, reroute the questions also which belong from some other subject. And then we have I don't know the solution. I don't know the solution. This is the option you will be opting uh, when you are not, when you are again unsure about solving a question. Also, when you will be in dilemma about the guidance. Suppose if you are in a dilemma whether to solve a question or whether to reject a question, and if you are not 100% sure about it, we would suggest you to skip the question under this I don't have the solution category, because that way the questions will get passed on to some other SME who may be working on the point, right? And then in the third category, we have options like exam test quiz. In the exam test quiz, basically only those questions will go which specifically have the terms like exam test quiz. Apart from this, here we can go with those questions also which come under semester exams like spring questions, midterm questions, always questions, right? Those questions again we can decline here, right? Basically, in this case, the intention of the student will be to cheat, right? So those questions we basically have to decline here, and then we have points, marks, grades based questions. So here all of those questions will go which are probable to, you know, which we can consider in graded category, right? And the questions when the questions have the terms like points, marks, grades, scores, credits, if these kind of terms are visible within the question, again they would mean that okay, the questions are intended for cheating for some ongoing exam or some exam which is due in future, right? And the questions are of a graded category, right? So those questions will get declined here. In these kind of questions, here we will be declining only those kind of questions which will be probable to violation of copyrights. So some, for example, if some company logo is visible, if some external URL is provided, for example, even if it is a broken URL, you have to decline those questions here. When some college university is name is there, when publisher name is there, when some professor name is there, right? In all those cases, we are probable to violation of copyrights. So those questions will basically go here. In the lab-based questions, we will be declining only those questions which will be very much specific about of a particular experiment or a lab, right, or lab-related work, right. So those questions will get declined here. And then lastly, we have that option, the spam category, right? Lastly, we have the spam category, right? So those questions that cannot be declined under these options, these initial four options, right? Then they will eventually go to the spam category. First of all, we definitely have to prioritize these options. If they cannot be declined under these initial four options, then we have to decline under this category, right? For example, in the case of opinion-based questions, research-based questions, or you can say essay for essay-based questions, like those questions cannot be declined under these initial four options, right? So eventually, the question will be declined under the spam category we have available. One thing you need to note here is there may be some of the questions wherein you will find the terms like exam test also, and some points or marks may also be visible. So in that case, what you can do is you have to follow the priority order, right? You have to in the priority order, if you see exam test which question comes first. So this is where you can possibly decline those kind of questions, right? So in that case, exam test quiz question you will be prioritizing and you will be declining that question under this category. Okay. So I hope you find this video useful, right? Thank you so much.
Okay, team, so this was about your skipping categories. Any doubts related to skipping categories? No doubts. So can we have a quick thumbs up then? Okay. So in the session we have discussed about structure, tools, and the skipping categories that are there on the platform. While you are working on the platform, make sure you are following all the guidelines we have discussed. There is zero tolerance policy for plagiarism. There is zero tolerance policy for AI generated content. So make sure each and every content that you are posting on the platform is written by you. Okay, as a next step, assessment will be shared with you.